Hey y'all, this is Tamika, the face behind Hey HR. Listen, if you want to know some tips on how to have successful virtual interviews, definitely keep watching. So this is going to be quick and easy. There's only 5 simple tips that I want to give you guys because now these days we've come into a total virtual world. Everyone's being COVID prepared and COVID safe. So guess what they're doing? Virtual interviews. And so almost everywhere we normally would have walked into an office and did an interview, they're now saying, hey, I'm sending you this link. Well, it'll come to you via email. Click on it to access the interview. So how do you make sure that you're going to be successful when you click on it? First thing I would do is try it out. So many organizations are using different types of software. So there's WebEx, there's Zoom, there's Google Meet, there's Microsoft Teams, there's tons, and those are the most popular ones. So what you want to do with that link first is take a look at the address on that link. It should tell you which software they're using. So I would first look for an app for that link. If there is an app, download it. It's going to be your easiest way to access that interview when it's time. Next thing I would do is probably see if I can do like a demo test and get a quick link myself and test it with my friend. So if I have anyone that I know has a couple minutes in their day, I would say, hey, I'm going to send you this link. I need you to tap in. See if your phone's capable or your laptop is capable of downloading it. See if your settings are right. See if your mic is working. See if your camera is working. Test all those things. I mean, I would say at minimum a day before, but if you're really on crunch time, do it at least an hour before so that you're not pushed for the interview time. But test that link out first. The next thing that you need to do is make sure to log into the interview early because you've done a demo test with a whole nother link that you created, but you have not used their link. So if that interview is at 11, I would try it maybe 10:45. If it tells you waiting on the host or what have you, or waiting on everyone to attend, or the meeting hasn't started yet, stay on that blank screen, cut your microphone off. You probably want to cut off your camera and just wait until it starts. I would probably use that 15 minutes to make sure that I'm sitting in the right picture tone for that video, that my lighting is right. Check all of those things so that you can be absolutely prepared whenever the interviewer comes on. So you've tested the link. Now what do? I would first make sure that wherever I'm doing this interview, that I've checked my background, that it's a clear background. If you need to put up a sheet or find a blank wall, take a picture off the wall, whatever it is that you need to do, I would want my background to be blank. I can't tell you guys how many interviews I've been in where I'm interviewing someone and there's like customers walking behind them because they're at Starbucks because they need Wi-Fi. Or they're at their house and all of a sudden I'm seeing the cars pass by. I'm seeing the neighbors walk the dog. Make sure that you're not sitting in that type of atmosphere. The best thing to do, honestly, is to sit in front of that window so that the light is coming into you and your background is clear. I mean, that could be a black screen if that works for your skin tone. That could be a white one, gray one, whatever. And honestly, I always suggest Think Media all the time because they have such a great YouTube channel. And I will put the link below and it will tell you how you can put a background behind you so that the camera and everything is totally focused on you. So even if you can't go to that extreme, I personally would just grab a sheet out of the linen closet, hang it where I can, maybe with some thumbnails, and be camera ready. You have that background all together. Make sure that your dress attire is right. I mean, for goodness sakes, you're at an interview. So you want to dress like you're at an interview. So what you want to do is make sure that at least from the waist up or wherever the camera visual is, that you're dressed as though you've walked into their office. Do not just say, okay, I'm just going to do my face or I'm just going to throw on a blank top, a t-shirt or whatever. Dress, interview, prepared. So now you've tested the background, you've tested the link. What else are you going to test? So while I'm testing that link, I would definitely try a sound check with the computer. But after you're all done with that, when you're getting prepared for the interview, I would make sure that I'm in a quiet room. Make sure that I'm away from a window that has a lot of traffic. I would make sure that my lighting is right. If I need to cut on every light, change the LED bulbs. Again, there's a link below so that you can order some LED bulbs if you need those. And I would just totally make sure that my visual is right. Make sure that when they log in, they're attracted to me and what they see. I would also make sure that my camera is positioned right. I want to make sure that I'm smack dab in the middle of the camera, that there's very little seen in the back of me and above me and below me. So I want to be in the middle of that camera so that they can still, again, focus on me. At the end of the day, you don't want anything else around you to take away from the power in your interview. You want to make sure that you are the focus, your knowledge is the focus, your experience is the focus, and that they are only focusing on how great of a candidate you are. And in this interview, you know what else is super duper important? Guess what? No one can see below here, right? So no one can see that I have my notes right here. Same thing for you. Make sure that you have notes right next to you, a notebook, a pen, so that you can jot down notes. Who attended? What is their position? What are they expecting from me? What are they giving me as their turnaround time? Maybe we talked about compensation. I definitely want to take a note of that. Make sure that you jot those notes down because you're going to need them in the future, particularly who attends, what their position is, and if you can get it out of them, I would go ahead and ask them for their email address. Make sure that you make note of that during the interview. So now you've done all of that. Maybe you already sat through the whole interview. You don't even have any notes. How are you going to get them? Ask questions. That's your final tip. I would first ask, can you remind me of your name? Okay, and what's your position? Because guess what? 9 times out of 10, if you don't get their information from them, you probably can get their direct information from LinkedIn or from their website. So I would make note of that. That would be one question. My next question would be anything about the company. Make sure that you do research on the company so that you have those questions available to you. If they don't answer those questions during the interview, then you want to ask them. But make sure that you're limiting your questions to 1 or 2 questions. Most times interviewers already have the interview set up for the allotted time that they're expecting. And when they're asking you if you have questions, they really don't have a ton of time for additional questions because perhaps they have something else on their calendar or another person to interview. So listen eagerly throughout the interview so that you don't have very many questions at the end. And if you're like, man, well, they answered all of my questions, I don't have any questions at all. You always want to have at least one prepared. So even if they already answered all the questions you had prepared, some of your go-to questions are,
can you tell me about the culture at your company?
Can you tell me what attracts you to continue to work there? Can you tell me what you expect out of this incumbent?
Because again, the job hasn't been offered to you, so you want to make sure that you leave it open. What do they expect out of the person that may be filling this position? You should be able to ask them, if you are most proud about anything in your organization, what is that? So that's going to give you some culture information. That's going to give you their vibe. If they pause and they have a hard time explaining what that is, then guess what? They probably don't like working there. But if they jump right to it and you see their passion, then they're telling you factual information. They're excited about working there. They have been there for quite some time. Or even in their short tenure, they've truly enjoyed the experience that they've had. So those are going to be your go-to questions. So yeah, guys, super easy to get ready for virtual interviews, right? That's all you have to do. Make sure that you know the position. Make sure that you have already made note of the company that's interviewing you. Make sure that you've made note of the expectations that you have, perhaps the compensation, if that's talked about during that interview. When do they expect to reach back out to you, or should you reach back out to them? And guess what? Be totally prepared as if you walked into the door. So if you have made it this long, I thank you so much for watching. If any of this intrigues you, definitely hit the subscribe button below or even click on the like button. I thank you so much for attending this video, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one.